poet Amir Khusrau used the word Hind to show India, to say India. He used Hind, the word Hind. So this is what the changes that had been happened during the medieval period. The historians and their sources. So we all know historians and what source they use. The information about the medieval period is derived from two sources. So we can gain information about the medieval period through two sources. They are archaeological and literary. Archaeology in the sense, archaeologists are the people, those who study the past, those who excavate the lived things such as pots, ornaments, everything which are used by the ancestors are excavated by the archaeologists. And literary in the sense, books that were written by the historians. So these are the two sources in order to find out the past history. And archaeological sources available to us includes monuments, temples, coins, tombs, ornaments and paintings. So through these things we can identify the past history, past things about our ancestors. The next one, new social and political group. New social and political group. The study of the 1000 years between 700 and 1750 is a huge challenge to historians, largely because of the scale and variety of developments that occurred over a period. So between 700 and 1750, for 1000 years, there was a great challenge to the historians, in which there was a variety of development. There was different developments that had been happened before 1000 years, and it was a period of great mobility. And one such group of people was Rajputs, and other group of warriors were Marathas, Sikhs, Jats, Ahoms and Kayasthas. So these are some of the people, those who ruled India. The next one is regions and empires. Regions and empires. Large states like those of the Cholas, the Tughlaqs or the Mughals encompass many regions. So the empires such as Cholas, Tughlaqs and Mughals, they ruled many states of India, many regions of India, and old and new religions formed. Religion was often closely associated with the social economic organization of local communities. And the historical periods. The British historians divided the history of India into three periods. They are Hindu, Muslim and British. So the British historians divided Indian history into three periods. They are Hindu, Muslim and British. Most historians look to economic and social factors to characterize the major elements of different moments of the past. So the different historians will categorize each element into different category according to the social factor. The next one, the life of hunter-gatherers, early farmers and early empires were called early societies. The people, those who lived as a hunter-gatherers or early farmers and the empires, the kings are called as early societies. And European trading companies were called the medieval period. So these people are called as the early societies, and the medieval period comes under And what language was used by Al-Idrisi while making a map? So he used Arabic language to mark the places on the map. And what does a cartographer do? What does a cartographer do? He will make maps. He will draw maps. The person, those who draw maps are called as cartographers. So let us move on to your short answers. And your first question is, what were the causes for the migration of forest dwellers? What were the causes for the migration of forest dwellers? Migration in the sense moving from one place to another. So what is the reason for moving of the forest dwellers? Dwellers in the sense the people, those who live in the forest are called forest dwellers. The forest dwellers migrated and changed their habitat due to two important factors. They are gradual clearing of forest and extension of agriculture. Gradual clearing in the sense, so the people, the colonial people, during the colonial period, India, there was a vast change and the forests were cleared, the forests were destroyed and those lands were used as a agricultural land. So this is the reason why there was a migration of the forest dwellers. I will repeat it again. Forest dwellers migrated and changed their habitat due to two important factors: gradual clearing of forest and extension of agriculture. Your second question is, name various sources which are necessary for knowing the past. Name various sources which are necessary for knowing the past. And your answer is, the sources used by historians to study the past are coins, inscriptions, architecture, textual records, manuscripts and documents of accounts and taxes. So these documents used to provide a lot of detailed information to historians. So what is meant by a source? The historians use some of the books and things that were used by the olden ancestors. So that are called as sources. So these sources are coins, inscriptions in the sense writing on a hard surface, architecture in the sense different buildings, and textual records, the history is written as records, manuscripts in the sense the things that were written on a palm leaf which is called as manuscripts, and documents of accounts and taxes. So these documents used to provide a lot of detailed information to the historians to find out the past. And third question is, what do you mean by an archive? What is meant by an archive? A place where documents and manuscripts are stored as records is called an archive. So what is an archive? A place where documents and manuscripts are stored as records is called as archive. The next question, who was considered a foreigner in the past? Who was considered as a foreigner in the past? So during the earlier days, the foreigner was any stranger. Any stranger is considered as a foreigner who was not a part of that society, who was not a part of that society or culture. So foreigner in the sense a stranger who was not a part of that society or culture. A city dweller might regard a forest dweller as a foreigner. So the person who lived in a city think that the person who lived in a forest as a foreigner. And two peasants in the same village were not foreigners even if they belong to different communities. So two peasants in the sense farmers. So the two farmers, those who are living in the same village, is not considered as a foreigner, but a city dweller consider the forest dweller as a foreigner. Yes children, now let us move on to the detailed answer. Your first detail is, what were jatis? How were the affairs of jatis regulated? So what is jatis? Jatis or subcastes are the social groups divided on the basis of their background and occupation. And jatis framed their own rules and regulations to administer the behavior of their members. An assembly of elders described in some areas as a jati panchayat enforced these regulations regulations. And besides, they had to follow rules of their village. Several villages were governed by a chieftain. There will be a headman to look after the villages. So what are jatis and how were the affairs of jatis regulated? So the jatis or subcastes are the social groups. The social groups or subcastes is called as jatis on the basis of their background and occupation. And jatis frame their own rules. So they form their own rules and regulations to administer the behavior of their members in that particular society. And an assembly of elders described in some areas as the Jati Panchayat enforce these regulations. So there will be a panchayat in order to regulate the rules that were discovered. And besides, they had to follow the rules of their village. And several villages were governed by a chieftain. So this is how the Jatis were divided and regulated. Your second detail is describe the difficulties faced by historians while using manuscripts. Describe the difficulties faced by historians while using manuscripts. So there was no printing press during medieval period. So the scribes copied manuscripts by hands. So during the olden days there was no printing press available, and they used the scribes. Scribes are the people those who have a good handwriting, and the person who know to write is called a scribe. And these scribes will copy the manuscripts by hands, and sometimes while copying a manuscript, a scribe also introduced small changes. A small change will be introduced by the scribe. For example, if you copy a classwork from your friend's note, what will happen? So if you didn't understand a word, you will write yourself. Instead of M, you will write N. So the same way, the scribes will also introduce new changes while copying a manuscript. And these small changes grew over centuries of copying until manuscripts of the same text became substantially different from the original one. So there was a vast change when comparing the original and the copied one. As a result, historians have to read different manuscript versions of the same text to guess what the author has originally written. So in order to find out the result, the historians must read all the versions of the manuscripts, all the copy of the manuscript, all the copies of the same text in order to find out the original thing which is written on the manuscript. So this is the difficulty faced by historians while using a manuscript. So that's all about your first chapter, children. Now we are moving on to your second chapter, and the name of your second chapter is New Kings and Kingdoms. New Kings and Kingdoms. The emergence of new dynasties. The first topic is the emergence of new dynasties. So in India, there was a new kings and kingdoms formed, and how they formed, who were the rulers of India. This is what we are going to see in this lesson. The emergence of new dynasties. The main ruling dynasty were Gujjara Pratiharas, Palas, Rashtrakutas and Chamanas. So these were the main ruling dynasties of India, that is in North India, and in South India it is the Chola, Pandya and Chalukya. So the dynasties which ruled North India were Gujjara Pratiharas, Palas, Rashtrakutas and tell us how rulers wanted to depict themselves as valiant and victorious warriors. So from this prashastis, by studying or reading this prashasti, we can understand the victories of warriors. And the kings often rewarded brahmanas by grants of land. So the kings always reward or gift the brahmanas some of the lands as gift. So these were recorded on copper plates which were given to those who received the land. So those who got the land as a gift from the king will be given a copper plate inscription. The name of that is called as prashasti. And next topic is warfare for wealth. So war, there were more and more wars in order to capture many regions. So in that for centuries Gujara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas fought for control over Kannauj. So in order to capture Kannauj, which is a very fertile and prosperous region in North India, these three parties were fought. Gujara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Palas. So in order to capture Kannauj, a tripartite struggle was fought. What is tripartite? Tripartite is a name of the war which consists of three parties. Three means tri. So it is known as tripartite struggle. The next one is about the Cholas. The Cholas were from a small family of Urayur. The Cholas were from a small family of Urayur in Tanjavur. The successors of Vijayalaya conquered neighboring regions and the kingdom grew in size and power. So the founder of Chola was Vijayalaya and the successor of Vijayalaya is Rajaraja I. This Vijayalaya was a very powerful ruler, and Rajaraja I was considered as the most powerful Chola ruler and expanded control over most of these areas. Rajaraja Chola was considered as the most powerful ruler and he also expanded the regions during this period. And his son Rajendra Chola. Rajaraja Chola's son was Rajendra Chola. After Rajaraja I, Rajendra I ruled India, the South India, and he also captured Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia. So he captured Sri Lanka as well as the regions in the Southeast Asia. The next one, Cholas were big temple builders. So Cholas often used to build temples, and the two famous temples were in Tanjavur and Gangaikonda Cholapuram. The two temples were Brahadishwara temple in Tanjavur and Gangaikonda Cholapuram. And agriculture was well developed along with various methods of irrigation. So during the Chola period, agriculture was developed more and more. They built different canals in order to irrigate the agricultural lands. So the Chola period was a powerful and in which the powerful rulers ruled South India. Yes children, that's all about your second chapter. Let us revise your question and answers and objective type questions. So the first one is, the group of villages were known as Nadu. The group of villages were known as Nadu during the Chola period. And which region was the focus of a tripartite struggle? So tripartite struggle was fought for capturing Kannauj. And who was the most powerful Chola ruler? Rajaraja I. Rajaraja I was considered as the most powerful Chola ruler. And Gangaikonda Cholapuram was built in the period of Chola dynasty. Gangaikonda Cholapuram was built in the period of Chola dynasty. And who among the following defeated the Mughal Emperor Humayun? So who defeated Humayun? Sher Shah Suri. Sher Shah Suri defeated Humayun. He is a Mughal emperor. And what did the term Bandagan mean? What is meant by Bandagan? Bandagan means slaves for military. Bandagan means slaves for military. And next one is your question and answers. associations also occasionally perform administrative functions in towns. These associations also occasionally perform administrative functions in towns. Your second question is, who were Gujara Pratiharas? Who were Gujara Pratiharas? The Gujara Pratiharas were the Brahmanas who gave up their traditional profession and took to arms. Took to arms in the sense they moved on to military. So the Gujara Pratiharas were the Brahmanas who gave up their traditional profession. They left their traditional profession and went to army. They successfully established kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. Thus, after moving to army, after moving to military, they successfully established their kingdoms in Karnataka as well as Rajasthan. So this is what about Gujara Pratiharas. Your third question is, when did the Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan III fight for the second time? When did Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan III fight for the second time? The second battle of Tarain. Tarain is one of the region, and the second battle of Tarain was fought between Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan in 1192 CE. CE means common era, and Ghori defeated Prithviraj in this battle. So Ghori defeated Prithviraj in the battle of Tarain. So the second battle of Tarain was fought between Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan III in the year 1192 common era CE, and Ghori defeated Prithviraj in this battle. Your fourth question is, what are Prashastis? Prashastis are the written records. Prashastis are the written records prepared by learned Brahmins in the praise of their ruler or king. Prashastis are the written records prepared by learned Brahmins in the praise of their ruler and king. Learned Brahmins were those who helped in the administration. So Prashastis may not be literally true. So the learned Brahmins were those who helped in the administration of the king. So Prashastis may not be literally true. Your fifth question is, what is the difference between the terms Brahmadeya and Devadana? What is Brahmadeya and what is Devadana? The tax-free land granted to Brahmins were called as Brahmadeya. The tax-free land that is given by the king to the Brahmanas, it is called as Brahmadeya. And as a result of these grants, a large number of Brahmin settlements emerged in the Kaveri Valley as in other parts of South India. So as a result of these grants, so in the banks of the river Kaveri, that is the Kaveri Valley, will support agriculture. Yes, so due to do the agriculture, these Brahmins came and settled in the Kaveri Valley. And land gifted to the temples were called as Devadana. Land gifted to the Brahmins are called as Brahmadeya, and land gifted to the temples are called as Devadana. And your sixth question is, name the dynasties that fought for the control over Kannauj in the early medieval period. Why was it called the tripartite struggle? From 9th to 13th century, three powers known as Gujara Pratihara of Western India, Rashtrakutas of Northwestern Deccan, and Palas of Bengal fought for control over Kannauj. So during which period, which century? From 9th to 13th century, the Gujara Pratiharas of Western India, Rashtrakutas of Northwestern Deccan, and Palas of Bengal fought for controlling Kannauj, which is a fertile land and prosperous region. So in order to capture Kannauj, these are the three parties they fought, and the name of the war is tripartite struggle. As there were three powers in this long-drawn conflict, historians often describe it as tripartite struggle. Tri means three. So because of there is three parties who fought for capturing Kannauj, India are the following. First one is the parties of tripartite struggle. The parties of tripartite struggle and kings and kingdoms between 7th and 12th century. The kings and kingdoms between 7th and 12th century. So you can see this is the three parties. The green color is Gujara Pratiharas, the brown color is Rashtrakutas, and the pink color is Palas. These are the three parties who fought for capturing Kannauj. So here it is Kannauj. This is the region of Kannauj. So these are the three parties. The tripartite struggle was fought. Understood? So your second map is the regions during the 7th and 12th century. The kings and kingdoms between 7th and 12th century. See, you can see Chamanas, Palas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas, everything. Yes, and the regions Indraprastha, Kannauj, Banaras, Paramaras, Chandalas, Payagya. So these are some of the regions and kingdoms. Yes, children. So this is the region of Chamanas. This is the region of Palas, and this is the region of Rashtrakutas. Understood? Yes. Now let us move on to your third chapter, the Delhi Sultans. The Delhi Sultans. The Delhi Sultans, under the Tomars and Chauhans, Delhi became an important under the Tomars and Chauhans, Delhi became an important commercial center. Many rich Jaina merchants lived in the city and constructed several temples. So during the Sultans, those who ruled Delhi, they were Tomars and Chauhans, and because of them, Delhi became an important commercial center. Many rich Jaina merchants lived in the city, Delhi, and constructed several temples. And coins called Delhi coins were minted here and had a wide circulation. So during this dynasty, during the Sultan dynasty, coins were invented. So that coins were known as Delhi coins. And transformation of Delhi into a capital that controlled vast areas of the subcontinent started with the foundation of the Delhi Sultanate at the beginning of the 13th century. And the Delhi Sultans built many cities in the area we now know as Delhi. So the Delhi Sultans built many cities in the area that we now know as Delhi. Yes, children, let us see a mind map on this lesson. Yes, children, this is the mind map of Delhi Sultans. So in this chapter we saw about the different rulers of Delhi and expansion of the Sultanate. In rulers of Delhi there were 5 dynasties. In rulers of Delhi there were 5 dynasties, and the sources, authors of the Tariq. Tariq was a book. So one by one let us see what are the 5 dynasties. Let us see about the 5 dynasties, those who ruled Delhi. So the first one is the Rajput dynasty. The first one is the Rajput dynasty, and second one is the early Turkish rulers. And third one it is Khalji dynasty. Fourth one Tughlaq dynasty, and Sayyid and Lodi dynasty. So these were some of the dynasties, those who ruled Delhi. And the next one is the sources. So many sources like inscriptions, coins and architecture provided a lot of information about the Delhi Sultanate, which is valuable. History is called Tariq. Tariq in the sense singular and Tawariq in the sense plural. It is written in the language Persian Sultanate. Architecture means buildings, different buildings. During the rule of sultans, a large number of mosques were constructed. Mosques in the sense, it is a praying place for the Muslims. The Arabian word for mosque is masjid. The Arabian word for mosque is masjid. And next one, Sultanate in the 15th and 16th centuries. So during 15th and 16th century, the Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan and the entire South India had independent rulers who established flourishing states and prosperous capitals. New ruling groups like the Afghans and the Rajputs also emerged. So during 15th and 16th century, these are the areas that were ruled by the sultans. The next one, let us see the slaves and clients as governors. Let us see what is Ikta and Iktadas. So Ikta means the Khalji and Tughlaq monarchs appointed military commanders. The Khalji and Tughlaq are the two dynasties who appointed military commanders as governors of territories. So they were the governors of territories, governors of the regions of Khalji and Tughlaq monarchs. And these lands were called Ikta and their holders were called as Iktadas. So the lands which was governed by the military commanders are called as Ikta and the holders are called as Iktadas or Muktis. Next one is about Samantas or landed chieftains. The landlords were forced to accept the authority of the Sultanate. So the Sultanate gave a particular power to the landlords and they were forced to accept it. Their right to collect revenue was cancelled and lands were measured and accounts were maintained. And some of the old chieftains and landlords served as revenue collectors and assessors. The next one is type of land revenue. So in which the revenue was collected. Revenue means tax. So the Delhi Sultans collected taxes on some of the things that were done during the period of sultans. So the types of land revenue are, there were three types of collecting taxes. The first one is on cultivation called kharaj. So during the agricultural produce, 50% of the produce Answer is Khizr Khan. So Khizr Khan was the founder of Sayyid dynasty. And fifth one, who said Razia was more qualified and able than her brothers? Who said Razia was more qualified and able than her brothers? It was told by Minhaj-i-Siraj. It was told by Minhaj-i-Siraj. And now let us discuss the question and answers. First one, define a client. A client is someone who is under the protection of a ruler. So this person is one who has been born of humble birth but has been elevated to an important position in the kingdom by a ruler. So who is a client? Client means a person under the protection of a ruler, and this person is humble and noble by birth but has been elevated to an important position in the kingdom by a ruler. So the client will be given an important position by the ruler. And your second question is, what do you mean by Iqta system? What do you mean by Iqta system? The Khalji and Tughlaq monarchs appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying size. These lands were called Iqta. So what is Iqta? Iqta means the Khalji and Tughlaq monarchs appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying sizes. So the Tughlaq and Khalji dynasty kings appointed military commanders in order to look after their territory. So these lands were called as Iqta. These lands were called as Iqta. And your third question is, what were the duties of Muftis? The duty of Mufti was to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. So Iqta means what? The land. The duty of Muftis or Iqtadars was to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. And fourth question is, why was Razia, daughter of Sultan Iltutmish, removed from the throne of Delhi? So after Sultan Iltutmish, Razia became the king. That is, Razia came to the throne. And why was she removed from the throne of Delhi? What is the reason? In 1236, Sultan Iltutmish's daughter Razia Sultan became the Sultan of Delhi, became the Queen of Delhi. And Minhaj-i-Siraj, the chronicler of the time, recognized that she was better qualified than her brothers to rule the kingdom, but as per the rules and norms of gender distinctions and birthright, she was not comfortable with a female becoming the ruler. So what happened? Razia Sultan, after Sultan Iltutmish came to the throne, but Minhaj-i-Siraj told that he is a chronicler. He told that Razia Sultan is better qualified when comparing to her brothers. But as per the norms of gender distinction, as per the rules and norms of gender distinction and birthright, he was not comfortable with a female becoming the ruler. As there was brothers for Razia Sultan, and as she was a female, there was no rule to a female coming to the throne, and even the nobles was not happy with Razia, and she was removed from the throne in 1240. This is the reason why Razia was removed from the throne. And answer in detail. Your first question is, discuss briefly why the administrative character and methods of Muhammad Tughlaq were a failure. Why the administrative rules of Muhammad Tughlaq became a failure. 1. Muhammad Tughlaq's administrative character and methods were a failure. The main reasons were, his campaign into Kashmir was a disaster. His campaign into Kashmir was a disaster, after which he gave up his plans to invade Transoxiana. His campaign into Kashmir was a disaster. So, in order to capture Kashmir, he fought a war which was a disaster. And after which he gave up his plans to invade Transoxiana. So, because of the disaster in Kashmir, he gave up the plans to capture raising of taxes and famine in the Ganga Yamuna belt led to widespread rebellion. And finally, the token currency had to be recalled. Finally, the token currency had to be recalled. The raising of taxes and famine. Famine means what, children? Famine means scarcity of food. This is called as famine. So the rising of taxes and famine in the Ganga Yamuna belt led to widespread rebellion. Rebellion means there was a fight and war. So finally the token currency had to be recalled. So this is the reason why the Muhammad Tughlaq method was a failure one. So we have to study the timeline. So in the year 1175 to 1192, it was the region of Prithviraj Chauhan. The years 1175 to 1192 was the region of Prithviraj Chauhan. And 1206 to 1210, it was the region of Qutbuddin Aibak. So it was the region of Qutbuddin Aibak. And 1236 to 1240, it was the region of Razia Sultan. It was the region of Razia Sultan. And 1296 to 1316, it was the region of Alauddin Khalji. It was the region of Alauddin Khalji. 1324 to 1351, it was the region of Muhammad Tughlaq. It was the region of Muhammad Tughlaq. And 1351 to 1388, it was the region of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. It was the region of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. And 1414 to 1421, it was the region of Khizr Khan of Sayyid dynasty. 1414 to 1421 was the region of Khizr Khan of Sayyid dynasty. And 1451 to 1489, it was the region of Balul Lodi. It was the region of Balul Lodi. Yes, children, that is all about your revision.